Good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you are in Australia, and welcome to today's webinar. Love a good webinar day. How's everyone feeling at the moment? Can I get some messages in the chat? Is everyone having a good Tuesday? Is it a good start to the week, or has it been a bit rough? Busy. Amen. Amen. Oh, awesome. Awesome. Glad everyone's having a good day so far. So, my name is Joel Comerford. I am your trusty webinar host, and I'm also a consultant over here at Lawpath. I may have spoken to some of you, but if I haven't, it's an absolute pleasure to meet you, and thank you so much for attending today. For those of you who are new to Lawpath, we are Australia's leading online legal and accounting platform for small businesses. We've helped over 500,000 businesses register, scale, and stay compliant by providing affordable access to legal advice, accounting services, document automation, and so much more. Whether you're launching a new venture or growing an existing one, our platform brings together everything you need to manage the legal and financial side of your business in one place without the high hourly rates that you're probably used to. Now, today's webinar is titled Choosing a Legal Structure, Company versus Sole Trader versus Trust. Before we dive into the details, let's take a moment to understand why your business structure isn't just a box to tick. It's the legal foundation your entire business is built upon. Let that sit in for anyone who's yet to register a business. In Australia, you generally have three core options: sole trader, company, ACN, Australian company number, and trust. Each one offers a different balance of control, cost, tax, and protection, and each is shaped by how our laws treat risk, income, and ownership. A sole trader structure is fast, flexible, and perfect if you're just starting out or testing a new idea, but you are the business, essentially. And that means your personal assets are on the line if anything goes wrong. Go into more details of this later. A company, on the other hand, is its own legal entity. That gives you limited liability and access to lower tax rates, which is a smart move if you're scaling, raising capital, or hiring staff. But it also means more rules, more reporting, and more governance. Then there's the trust, a powerful structure often used by families and investors. It offers strategic tax distribution and strong asset protection, but with that flexibility comes complexity and higher costs. Emphasis on complexity. So today we'll unpack the pros and cons of each, help you spot the signs that it's time to switch, and most importantly, show you how to match the right structure to your goals. Let's get started, and remember, structure first, scale second. Now, I'm pleased to introduce our expert speaker, Mashrur Shan, or more how he likes to be referred to as Mash. So if you guys do end up speaking to Mash, if you've never met him before and you decide to hop on one of our legal plans or get a consultation with him, go ahead and call him Mash. It's his preference. Mash is a commercial lawyer at Lawpath Legal, supporting founders and growing businesses with legal structuring, service agreements, employment law, and IP protection. He frequently advises clients on setting up discretionary trusts and holding companies to manage risk and safeguard assets. With a background in finance and strategy from top-tier consulting and banking firms, Mash brings practical, real-world insights into how businesses operate, and clients consistently value his clarity, responsiveness, and ability to simplify complex legal issues. So really, really fortunate to have Mash today. Guys, I, I always stress this, and if you are new, this is a great place to ask questions, and no questions are dumb questions. So throughout the webinar, we will have a Q&A at the end, but throughout the webinar, if you have any questions or if Mash brings up something in particular that it's just a burning idea in your head and you want to get it out, throw it in the Q&A or throw it in the chat, and we'll make sure that we can get to that as soon as possible. So finally, what are we covering in today's webinar? Business structure basics, key legal, tax, and liability considerations, when to switch structures and why, and how to align your structure with your business goals. So, as I mentioned, we will have a Q&A at the end, so if you're happy to wait, you can leave your questions till then. We also have a wonderful discounted offer for our legal advice plan, which is 20% off, which I will go into detail later on. And I dare say that's everything from my end. So without further ado, Ash, if you would like to take it away.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the kind words, Joel, and it's a pleasure to be here. So let's get into this. What is a business structure? So we've gotten a high-level overview of what a business structure is, and different types, but let's get into the nitty-gritty. So a business structure is a legal framework for everything your business does. It shapes how you're taxed, who's liable if things go wrong, and how profits are handled. It also affects how clients, banks, and investors see you. This is one of the most important decisions you'll make because the structure lays the foundations of how your business operates and grows. And as Joel might have touched on, why this matters. Well, this is really, really relevant because it's not just paperwork. It depends on if you choose a wrong structure, it can cost you in so many ways. It can cost you in tax, it can cost you in exposure, and it can cost you in compliance. And on the flip side, if you do have the right structure in place, you will make sure that your personal assets are protected, your profits are managed, and it supports your long-term vision. So, what are some key considerations when choosing a business structure? When I work with clients, I always start with three main questions. What level of risk are you comfortable with? How do you want your income taxed? And how much are you prepared to invest in setup and compliance? And then we move on to the extras around control and obligations. So do you want to run things solo or do you want to share control? Are you happy to manage compliance like directors' duties and reporting obligations? So ultimately, it's really a balancing act. It's an act trying to understand all of these considerations and trying to determine what works for you. So let's get into this. Understanding the different structuring options. So there are the three main ones that's on the title of the slide is around sole trader, company, and trust. But I thought I'll also cover partnerships today, just because it is something I often see a lot of clients come up with, and it, to be perfectly honest with you, leads to a lot of disputes as well. So each structure has their own pros and cons, and what works for your friend's business may not work for you. So first things first, sole trader. A sole trader is an individual who owns and operates a business on their own. It's the simplest structure and it's the most common structure for small businesses, freelancers, and early stage startups. There's basically no legal distinction between you and your business. All you have is an ABN number, but at the end of the day, you're the person that's doing the hiring, that's trading, and you just have a business name to do so. You're ultimately responsible for all aspects of this business, whether it's financial or legal. And it's best for freelancers, consultants, and sole operators starting off small and testing a new concept. Some pros and cons of a sole trader business. The biggest one, it's easy and inexpensive to set up. You have full control over decision making, and it's a simple tax reporting framework. Disadvantages, it's unlimited personal liability. Basically, if your ABN business, if you lead to any business issues, it's ultimately your personal assets are on the hook. If you have a house, if you have a bank account, if your business goes under.
Yes, how to raise capital. So you might have a sole trader ABN, your business might be doing quite well, and now it's time to bring in investors. Investors typically prefer to invest in companies, and as you can't issue shares of your own sole tradership, then it gets very difficult to raise funding. Another key issue that I see is around credibility with clients or lenders. So banks or commercial partners often see sole traders as juvenile or inexperienced, so that's an issue that you might come across. And there's also from a tax perspective, there's no separation between personal and business income. So all profits are treated as your personal income, which can result in higher tax as your business grows. Now let's jump into an example of a perfect sole tradership. So Taylor is selling handmade candles on weekends. She doesn't expect much of an income from it. She definitely has no employees and is just testing out an idea here. Sole tradership is perfect for her. She can just quickly get an ABN, she can register a business name and, build out these candles and see if it works. If the business works, she can always scale up and convert into a company after the fact. So that's the summary of sole traders. Now we move on to partnerships. A partnership is a business structure where two or more people run a business together. They share profits, they share losses, and they share responsibilities. It's established with or without a formal partnership agreement, although legal documentation is strongly recommended. Pros and cons of a partnership are quite similar to a sole tradership. However, the biggest con here is the fact that you are liable for your partner's mistakes. So remember that in a partnership, each partner is personally responsible for business debts and obligations, including those incurred by other partners. This often leads to a potential for conflict. Disagreements happen over strategy, role, or finances, and this happens even more when there is not a good enough partnership agreement or no agreement in place. There's also instability from partner changes. Each partner may dissolve or require renegotiation if a partner leaves, and there's also limited growth opportunities. Raising funds or accessing external investment is also very difficult compared to a company. On the flip side, though, it's quite similar. It's to a sole tradership in terms of how simple and easy it is to set up. It's a good way to combine skills and capital amongst friends, as well as share responsibilities and be taxed individually. Here's an example of a partnership. Maya and Leo are two friends and they're forming an e-commerce site. They want to share profits and split costs. They don't want to set up a company just yet, but want some documentation in place aside from two friends working together. So a partnership is the best option for them. A partnership gives them a simple, low-cost setup, but it comes with shared liability. What one partner signs, both are bound to. A written partnership agreement is essential to manage roles, profit splits, and exits. And finally, we come to companies. A company is a separate legal entity that's incorporated under the Corporations Act of 2001, and it's registered with the Australian Securities and Investments Commission. This means that it's its own legal identity, distinct from its owners, the shareholders, and its managers, the office holders or directors. It can own property, enter into contracts, incur debts, pay taxes, and even sue or be sued, all in its own name. And most small and medium-sized businesses in Australia operated private companies limited by shares. I'm sure we all know the advantages and disadvantages, the biggest advantage being limited liability. Shareholders' personal assets are generally protected if the business incurs debts. The liability is limited to the company by itself. There's also a lower tax rate of 25% compared to individual tax rates. Companies are investor friendly. You can issue new shares, you can raise capital. And the best advantage is the fact that it has its own separate legal identity, where it can continue into the long term, shareholders can change, office holders can change, but the company itself remains. Disadvantages are higher setup and compliance costs. There's more admin and regulation to follow. There's also less privacy. Company details, including directors' details, are publicly available through ASIC. All you have to do is do an ASIC search, pay $10, and you can get a lot of information. And there's also tax complexities to worry about. Companies need to navigate franking credits, Div 7A rules if there's directors taking out money from the company, and they have to do separate tax returns. And now onto an example of when a company is a good choice as a structure. Jasmine is building a data-driven buyers agency. She hires software engineers with sweat equity, not salaries. What this means is that she doesn't want to give them money, she wants to give them a part of the business. And she also has two friends that want to invest in her business in return for equity. And eventually, she wants the business to grow, and she wants to approach venture capital firms to raise even more funds. For Jasmine, it makes perfect sense to start as a company. It enables equity splits, tracks ownerships, and sets the foundation for future investors and growth. And now we move on to trusts. A trust is one of the most interesting structures to follow. It's basically a legal relationship where a person or a company, the trustee, holds and manages assets for the benefits of others, the beneficiaries. And this is done in accordance with the trust deed. As Joel mentioned earlier, there is a lot of complexities with trusts, and the trust deed essentially dictates what a trustee is and isn't allowed to do. They're great for investments, they're great for estate planning, but for business purposes, it's a bit questionable whether it's the best structure or not. Simply because the trust deed is often quite inflexible and it makes it a lot harder to bring in new investors into a business. So the biggest advantage of a trust is the fact that it's asset protection. Properly structured trusts may shield assets from creditors or legal claims. It's also very flexible with its income distribution. Trustees can allocate income to beneficiaries in a tax-effective way, and this can be used to do some tax planning, and having effective trusts in place can really bring down the overall tax burden. Disadvantages are around the liability of the trustee. The trustee bears legal responsibility for the trust's actions and must act in the best interests of the beneficiaries. There's also high setup and admin costs, as well as ongoing compliance to worry about around trustee resolutions, proper record keeping, and adherence to the trust deed. Now onto an example for trusts as a business structure. As I alluded to, it's not the most common, nor is it a recommended structure, but often it is relevant for certain types of businesses. Let's look at Amir. Amir is running a short-term rental business with his family and wants to protect their properties while managing income tax effectively. Instead of setting up a company, they use a discretionary trust to hold the assets, the houses. This allows income to be split across family members and helps with succession planning. But while the trust offers protection, it's not cheap, nor is it simple. Admin is heavy, and making changes are quite slow. Nonetheless, it is a strategic move for Amir and Amir's context, and however, it's not the best for a startup. So that's essentially a summary of the 4 business structures. So which structure is right for you? Well, the simple answer is it depends. If you're just testing an idea with low risk, sole traderships might be fine. If you're building something with a co-founder, a partnership might work. Just make sure that the trust is there. Companies are great if you're scaling, hiring, or raising funds, and trusts are good for asset-heavy setups or family-run businesses looking for flexibility. Please don't go and pick what your friend is picking or your network is suggesting. Come and talk to us. We will support you with your goals. And now we move on to tax and liability considerations.
Mash, if I may just interject real quick, thank you so much. Jaspreet's asked a couple of questions. He said, why do finance brokers ask directors to sign personal guarantees? Then the liability comes on directors if companies can't pay debts.
Indeed, that's a good question, Jaspreet. So essentially, finance brokers or any lender is going to ask directors to sign personal guarantees because of exactly that. The company might not have enough assets to cover its debts. So if you're the lender, and you were to lend money to a company without a personal guarantee, the risk is you might not get paid back and you might not have anyone to sue to chase up that debt. So accordingly, the lender wants the guarantee, so they want the director to sign the personal guarantees.
Perfect. And we've just got another question from Chris here. If starting a new e-commerce business, is there a way I can limit liability? Putting debt aside, I am more asking about protection for liability against injuries or damages that could arise from goods sold on my store.
Yeah, so if you're worried about liability from goods that are sold on your store, there's definitely company is the best way forward, just because that company will get chased up the chain of liability. If you're not interested in the company though, because of costs and whatever else, you can have tight terms and conditions in place on your e-commerce store to make sure that the sellers indemnify you. So what that means is if you're selling a problem good and it's some sort of different seller, like a third-party seller, you're going to say that if I get sued because of a good that you're selling that's problematic, you're going to protect me in this suing process and you'll come cover me for any costs and damages.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
There is no asset protection. So Jaspreet, that question, asset protection in a company, the company is its own separate liability, is its own legal entity. However, if you're borrowing money, the lenders need additional protection. That's where they make you sign directors' guarantees, personal guarantees. Cool. Moving on then to tax and liability. So tax and liability is often the 2 biggest deal breakers in any sort of company, in any sort of business structure setup. And sole traders and partnerships are taxed personally and carry full liability. So going back to that example, the e-commerce example that I had, for a partnership, yes, it's a good way for 2 friends to start up a business, but they are carrying full liability because it is a partnership, it's not a company. And then talking about companies give you a 25% flat rate and limited liability, which is a big win there. And trusts can be very tax effective, but it gets hard to raise investments. So think carefully about what you want to protect and how flexible you want to be with profits and losses. And now onto costs and compliance. Companies and trusts cost more to set up and they cost more to run, but you get what you pay for: protection, flexibility, and a more credible presence. If you're just starting out, a sole tradership makes perfect sense, but if you're serious about growth, spending a bit more on the right structure early can save you much more later. And that's a good segue into when and why to switch structures. As a lawyer, I see this all the time. People stick with their original structure for too long. Maybe you're earning more, maybe because you're taking on more risks, or you want to bring on investors, but you're still trading as a sole trader. That's when it's time to upgrade. Moving to a company or trust can protect your assets, help you scale, and give you options. Switching is common as the business matures. Don't wait until something goes wrong. And now let's look at an example. So we have Arjun here. Arjun started preparing frozen meals at home and supplying to a few local stores. Fast forward, he's in Woolies, 7-Eleven, and servers around the country. He owns IP, employs staff, and runs a full facility. At this point, a sole trader structure isn't cutting it, so he sets up a company. Actually two, one for operations and one to hold the brand and assets. That's how you scale safely. And if you're thinking, I want the protection of a company, but the tax flexibility of a trust, you're not alone. That's exactly what Arjun does next. He adopts the gold standard that we talk about at Lawpath with all our clients. We have a dual company, a holding company and an operating company in the bottom half of that diagram, and that's owned by a discretionary trust with a corporate trustee. The operating company runs the day-to-day, the holding company holds the IP and the shares of the operating company, and the trust owns the whole lot. It's powerful, you get the asset protection, and you get tax-effective income distribution and succession planning all in one. So, quite a quick presentation, so let's come to our final takeaways. And that brings us to the end. By now, hopefully you have a clear picture of the different business structures that are available to you. Sole traders, companies, trusts, and a partnership if that's right for you. Each one has its strengths and its trade-offs. The key is knowing where you are in your journey and choosing a structure that supports, not limits, your next steps. If you're not sure where to go from here, that's where we come in. Let's help you build the right foundations for your business. And now I will pass to Joel.
Thank you so much, Mash. Really appreciate it. Guys, now is a perfect opportunity to just go ahead and throw some questions into the Q&A, and we will jump onto those immediately. But if anyone else has any kind of, I guess, I don't know, how's everyone feel in relation to where they are at the moment? Obviously, we have a poll and we do look at that, but I prefer to get it directly from the source. So if anyone's happy to just throw in the chat, what your plans are, if you're moving over from a sole trader into a company, or if the idea of a trust is something that you are interested in getting further education on, throw it in there. I'm more than happy to take down your details and contact you later on and get a bit of a discourse going. More than happy to do that. But if anyone here is new, if you are about to register a business, now's the perfect time to build your legal and financial foundations the right way. So at Lawpath, our legal, accounting, and tax plans are designed to give you and your new business peace of mind from day one. With unlimited access to lawyers and accountants, you'll get expert advice on your structure, contracts, tax obligations, ASIC and ATO compliance, and ongoing financial strategies, tax planning strategies and whatnot, all for a fraction of the cost of traditional advisors. You'll avoid expensive mistakes, which I see day in and day out with clients that I speak to, both with Lawpath or without. A lot of the time our clients are coming through out of reaction as opposed to taking necessary measures prior. So it seems to be the nature of humans to only act on something once it's too late. And look, no, we're not sitting on a pedestal over here saying we're all high and mighty, we're all humans and we will make mistakes. But if you have a business strategy, if you have a plan, if you have a passion project that you want to get involved with, whether it's through sole trader or a company, for example, if you truly care about it, maybe just take those extra measures just so you're protecting this investment of yours, because we wouldn't want you to spend all this money on marketing and products and specialists to come in and help you and tell you stuff you already know, just for it to fall flat on its face within 6 months or a year. So obviously we can help you save thousands on legal and tax fees, and you'll gain a full team behind you as you grow as well. We've got our lawyers and accountants sit across from each other. We have a wonderful nexus of information being passed around. We have clients who hop on a legal call that morning for 30 minutes, get advice on maybe hiring an employee for the first time, and then they'll book a consultation with the accountant maybe an hour or two later. So the lawyer will just pop their head over and go, hey, look, I spoke to John Doe. He said he's going to be speaking to you shortly. They mentioned that they're going to be hiring employees, and I advised them on the kind of contracts and things they'll need to look for, depending on what state they are, for example, and legislation, rules, yada, yada, yada. And then the accountant, when they hop on the call, they can say, well, let's look at your bookkeeping, let's look at your income, and we can obviously build a strategy of how you can afford to hire your first employee whilst keeping your head above water with bills and taxes, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, we are a law firm, we're an accounting firm, but we also offer these strong strategies as well. And again, fraction of the cost. So one platform, one plan, all the advice you need. If you are interested in, for example, working on documents for the first time, employee agreements, terms and conditions, et cetera, then we have all those contracts available. We also have a wonderful partner offer with GoDaddy. So if you are looking to register a domain and get an email in, a lot of clients will want to nab the name before they even go ahead and register the business. It might take them a year or so. You do have that opportunity. If you have a free account with us at Lawpath, you can go over to partner offers and see what we have there. If you're deciding to jump on an accounting software, if you're transitioning over from like an Excel spreadsheet, for example, your accountant's charging you too much because they hate going through these spreadsheets and they just prefer you have an online accounting software where it's all automated. We have some wonderful deals with Xero and MyOb. You can go ahead and find those in the partner offers as well. But if you're truly just wanting to even have a conversation with a lawyer or even an accountant about how best to structure your business before you even register your company, you can go ahead and hop on either our legal or accounting advice plan. Talk to them about what kind of share structure should I have. I am going to be getting shareholders as well. Do I need a secretary? How many directors is really necessary? If I'm doing all the work, how much should the shares be organized? Can I hop on a call with you guys, with these other people involved at the business, and have those nitty-gritty conversations without scaring anyone? All of that's available. And then when it comes over to the accounting side of things, wanting to get your books and everything in order before you even get your feet, get the business off the ground, we can help you understand, why you should register for GST. If you're going to be hiring employees straight away, why PayYG is a good option, how to just do your own bookkeeping, how payroll is important, all that jazz. We've got it all covered. And then if you're someone who just wants to get your taxes done, if you want all your BAS done for you, your tax returns, your end of financial reporting, but also as someone who can just sit there with you and go, okay, you've been doing this for the last 10 to 12 years. What do you want to do differently? Are you looking to sell the business, or is the business in threat of being liquidated? If you're having issues with the ATO and you need someone to offer you breathing room and who can liaise with the ATO on your behalf, we cover all that over here at Lawpath as well. I'm not going to we have a lot of different discounts, and we have bundle options, and we have general pricing for things. If you're interested in that, go ahead and look at our platform and products and pricing. I'm not going to sit here and list it all off because we have so many different versions to make your life easier and more cost-effective approaches. But what we do have is our legal advice plan, and it is a 20% off discount that we have here, and this is only exclusive to those who are joining the webinar today. So we don't tend to offer this to anyone else other than those who are participating. So if anyone is interested in learning a little bit more about how we can assist you prior to registering a business or post, just go ahead and say yes in the chat, and I'll take your information down and I'll reach out to you personally. We don't necessarily have to have a call explicitly about hopping on a plan. If you just want to get a better I guess a better understanding of what might be a good option for you moving forward, I'm more than happy to have just a general conversation as well. So feel free to chuck a yes in the chat. And I'd say that should be everything from my end. Now, if you are new to Lawpath, guys, I will send an email out after this. It will have the slides from today. It will have this recorded webinar. It'll have the discounted offer, and it will have just everything else that Mash has touched on as well. And what else do I need to advise on? No, that should be everything. Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, Mash, you've got questions in the chat, and you've also got Q&A questions. So by all means, take it away. And guys, more questions. Bring them in. You've got hell, we've got 30 minutes, so throw them in there. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Joel. Yeah, look, so some of the questions were around if you're a sole trader now and you want to move over, when's a good time to move over, and the tax implications. So yes, there will be tax implications moving from a sole trader to a company. However, there are different rollovers available. So I recommend you speak with your tax accountant, or if you want to come speak with our accountants, we can run through the whole process with you in terms of rollovers that are available and what it means for you personally. In terms of when is a good time to move over, there isn't really a good time in terms of switching over. It's more personal to your business and the amount of risk you're taking on. Just remember that in a sole tradership, you have unlimited liability. So if you think that you're contracting with a lot more customers, the more customers you have, the more risk of getting sued. So at that point, it's a good time. In terms of time of the year, we often see a lot of people switch over around that June-July period with the new financial year, just because you do have to do to the end of 30th of June for a new company. So it just makes sense to avoid having to do tranched up returns. So if you were to switch over in May, you have to do a tax return for 30th of June from May to June. You're better off just doing it from 1 July with that switch over. And the other question was around a trading trust with a corporate trustee versus a trust and a trading company. So a trust and a trading company is essentially the gold standard structure I was alluding to, where the company's shares are owned by the trustee in the name of the trust, so that all the trading activity happens in the trading company. In a trading trust with a corporate trustee, all that trading happens through the trustee in the name of the trust. So what that means is basically all your assets and stuff are protected within the trust. However, you have to be very careful with all your contracts and all the trustees' actions to make sure that you're aligned to the trust deed, just so that any aggrieved beneficiary doesn't sue the trustee for not listening to the deed, because the fiduciary duty of the trustee is for the trust deed and to look after the beneficiaries. So what's another one? Transfer my business from undercompany to unit trust. Can I transfer it at the same cost price? Is there any capital gains? Hans, that's a pretty specific question. I recommend we take this one offline. Joel will reach out to you and we can set up a consult or something like that on that one. Hi, Paul. We have different options depending. Yep, cool.
If you'd like to jump over into the Q&A, Mash, we should have some questions there.
Oh, yep, sure. Thanks, Joel. What are the benefits of having a trust owning a company? So the benefits of having a trust owning the company is that your shares of your company is now owned through a trust and you are listed as a beneficiary. So if you were to get into any sort of trouble outside of that company structure, let's say you have a car accident or anything like that, and there's a liquidation order against you, you have to pay out a debt, your ownership of that company, a very valuable company, I presume, is not owned legally by you, so you don't have to liquidate that asset. That asset is not in your asset pool. Your savings might have to be drained, your house might have to be sold, but that ownership of that company is owned by the trust, not by you, so it doesn't count. Hans, that's fine. We covered that one. We'll take that one offline. What costs for the gold standard? So essentially, you're looking at paying for the trust setup, and you're also looking at 3 companies. One is the corporate trustee, one is the holding company, and one is the operating company. Look, pricing depends on the circumstances, but rough. I think Joel can reach out with you specifically, and we can set up a price for you, Stephen. Random question: if my wife is a hairdresser and I will be starting my own business, would a company structure a trust? Look, yeah, Chris, it just depends on the facts. We just need to look at, most likely it's going to be a tax consultation. We need to look at how much your wife's hairdressing business is earning, how much you expect the business to earn, the share splits. Are you looking to take out equity, leave the equity in the business? So yeah, again, sorry, it's a bit hard to talk about it generally. And Adam Hull, clients set up company themselves with shares in personal name. Now they want to move Yep, isn't hard to transfer over. So Adam, again, might be tax advice might be required on that one. It's not hard to make the change through ASIC. You have to have a few documents in place, and you do use a Form 484 to transfer it in the ASIC register. However, remember that there might be a capital gains event, so best to get tax advice on that one. And then Bark, I have established a sole partnership business and I would like to transfer to a trustee business. Can I do that? Look, with your sole partnership business, for a partnership, you need more than one partner, Bark. I think best we take this one offline as well and have a separate discussion on that one just so we can get more facts. Cool. I think we are good. Any other questions, guys?
Does anyone have any general questions? It may not necessarily have to be related to what we've touched on today, but does anyone have any other anything related to, I guess, contractual issues or the registering of a business that they're currently dealing with? And hopefully, Mash might be able to answer it for you. Mash, I'd say we've gone and broken a record for the fastest webinar. But hey, guys, look, really appreciate everyone stopping by. And if anyone has any further questions, you've got a professional here, a senior professional in law who can answer those questions for you. So by all means, drop it in. Otherwise, oh, here we go, Nickel Co. If you want to jump on that one.
Yeah, look, if your company is not active, as long as you've been paying your renewal fees every year to ASIC, it used to be 321 pre 30th June. I don't remember the exact fees off the top of my head this year. That's fine. Make sure that you've been doing your tax returns every year and you've been paying your renewals every year. That company is fine. If you haven't been doing that, then you do need to repay. You have to pay the late fees as well as the renewal fees, and you also have to do your tax returns.
Perfect. Well, look, guys, I'd say that's everything. Thank you so much for the questions. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Just real quick, while I have everyone here, I believe next week's webinar will be, let's have a look here. What do we have? What day is it? You know what? Don't worry about it. You all know how to find us. We will send out some videos promoting that webinar as well, and you will all get emails and texts. So look forward to having everyone here again. Please, next time, if you guys are attending, whether it's legal or accounting related, bring some questions. We don't want you leaving any of these webinars feeling like you're still in the dark on an issue. I've got everyone's names who wanted to reach out to have a bit of a conversation, so I will reach out to you then. And Mash, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom.